their second album, Bleeder. So Mutoid Man, this is how I found out about them. I actually went to see the Dillinger Escape Plan a few weeks ago, like 2 weeks ago, something like that. And one of the bands that they were playing with was Mutoid Man. So I looked at the lineup. I said, who the heck is Mutoid Man? I thought, I had never heard of them before, ever. So then I'm right up front, right in front of the stage too, because I wanted to see Dillinger, obviously. And then Mutoid Man comes on, and they start playing. And honestly, it takes a lot for a band to impress me that I've never heard of before, that I'm seeing, for the first time and hearing about them for the first time. But this band very, very much impressed me, the first time I saw them. And they put out, a very, very fun album to listen to with Bleeder here.
Bleeder is an awesome album. And listen, as time progresses, I find myself getting less and less excited in a lot of ways with bands. The last major band that came out that really for some reason sticks out in my head right now that I thought was really awesome was Delta Bell, and they're brand new. So I mean, but I think they've hit the hardest for me in the bands that have emerged.
Yeah.
Mutoid Man are the product of this band that existed at the end of the late '90s called Cave In. So the vocalist and guitar player from Mutoid Man had this band Cave In, and they did a lot of work. In late 90s or early 2000s, they had a couple of albums that were considered really good, and still pretty much the same type of band. So it's almost like what you're getting here, but this is much more refined. Bleeder is their first full-length album. The last one that they released, Helium Head, was an EP that I listened to.
Helium Head was very good.
Yeah, Helium Head. I listened to Helium Head the other day. I had never heard of this band before. I was only flagged about this band when you alerted me to it, and you said that you were going to see them when you went to Dillinger. So I was like, oh. And coincidentally, they have a new album coming out, today. So awesome album from beginning to end. It's prog metal with a great mix of hard rock. You can tell there's a lot of hard rock influences, a little bit more so than a band like maybe Dillinger. But this band in my head does things that when I listen. So I do like Dillinger Escape Plan a lot. And I know Dillinger's a very hardcore fan base. A lot of people love Dillinger Escape Plan. Understandably so. They're very accomplished, and a lot of these prog bands. It's not just them. It's a lot of prog bands that sometimes I have a harder time getting into them because, when you think of, we've talked about it before, where prog metal is I view prog metal as movements as opposed to songs, and a lot of times in those movements I feel disconnected from what they're writing, or they suddenly take this left-hand turn that you weren't expecting. Not even about time signatures or anything. It's just where did we go?
Right.
And it didn't. And sometimes it doesn't work for me. Sometimes it's a turn off for me. And this band, when this band does it, I find myself being more interested than not. I find myself between the vocals, are almost at points are we were talking about it before today, a little bit Black Sabbath-y at times, and then at other times, they're harsher. Overall, this band makes moves that I wish other prog metal bands would. When they finish a segment and they transition into the other one, I'm like, holy shit, that was cool. When a lot of times bands, even sometimes bands Between the Buried and Me, and bands that have been around for a long time that I love, sometimes they make choices in the music that are a little bit not confusing, but just
not appealing.
Not where my brain wanted it to go.
Right.
Yeah, Mutoid Man, Bleeder, there are two songs on the whole album I loved.
Yeah.
But two songs that really stood out to me were Dead Dreams and
Deadlock.
Both of those songs, for some reason, when those came on, I was just wow, I was blown away.
I really enjoyed, 1,000 Mile Stare?
Yeah.
Is one that really stood out to me.
Yep.
Yeah, like you said before with this band, what I like is they're only 3 people.
Yeah.
In this band, and I like that it's a lot going on.
Yeah.
With just 3 people.
It seems like a lot of bands take a long time to find their sound, but Mutoid Man has somehow managed to do it in an EP and in a full length. And they've already managed to establish themselves with a very distinct type of sound. I mean, you can tell that they're definitely playing through like. It sounds like they're using orange amplifiers on it. The orange amps to me have like a distinct sound.
I want to say they are. I don't remember what they were using.
I for some reason, like whenever I hear it orange, because they don't have that heavy gain. The gain is different on it. And for this band, on certain songs, they use high gain, and it works much better than if they had used something like a Black Star or like even they're probably using like Marshall Cats, but like for some reason what they're using is just suitable. Is like so suitable.
Yeah.
And Mutoid Man, I could definitely see myself like I look forward to their next work because this is like a very impressive first full-length album.
With an enjoyable record like this, I really think that this is a band, that should be getting recognized. This is an extremely underrated band.
Probably one of the most underrated. Like
this is a band that should be getting attention, should be touring the world, should be put on festivals.
Yeah.
Like fuck Code Dookie.
Yo, seriously,
this
you know what I would pay
this is
to
a
get
band.
Mutoid, yo. And honestly, I hope that we get to see Mutoid Man. I'm not sure where they're from.
They're actually from Massachusetts. This is a band where like if you're like at a bar or something like that, and there's a band playing, or if there happens to be a band playing, this is a band where like you're sitting at the bar and they're playing, and this is a band that just grabs your attention, like right away.
Yeah.
You say, who the hell are these guys?
Right.
This is some good shit.
We're seriously like it actualizes into everything that I would want a band like this to be, with 3 people.
That's
and
it.
there's bands that can't do it with 5. Mutoid Man has got a very bright future ahead of them.
I hope so. I'd like to see them, get recognized.
Here's to hoping that they start getting put on more bills because that would just be. I'd love to see them as opposed to like a lot of the other bands we get stuck in with. Awesome album.
It's very good.
Yep.